If someone here that likes to play harmonium would like to accompany. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjami Hari Kunjami Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjami Hari Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Faster. Girivardhari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Bhana Chadi Jamunatira Bhanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjami Hari Madhava Kunjami Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Bhanachadi Jamunatira Bhanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjami Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjami Hari Jayo Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Astatar Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Gaura Premanandi. This looks like a big staircase, but we only have 2 steps. This morning was step 1, and this is step 2, the next step. So here's our little graphic. Entering the mood, part 1. Acceptance was part 2, and now comes service mood. That's our time together this afternoon. And then comes Harinam or chanting inside, depending upon what the weather does, right? Let's see what the weather does. So 3 parts, the monkey mind, Dasya Bhav, very nice topic, and the mood of service directed towards one's deities, and then tomorrow morning preparing for the 64-round day. So same fellow, same beads, same Radha Krishna at the top of the steps, and the second step is this service mood. And you like the subtitle? Oops, I did it again. Maharaj Parikshit, Canto 6, Chapter 1, Text 10. Sometimes, Maharaj Parikshit said, one who is very alert so as not to commit sinful acts is victimized by sinful life again. I therefore consider this process of repeated sinning and atoning to be useless. It is like the bathing of an elephant. There's the bathing of an elephant. For an elephant cleanses itself by taking a full bath, but then throws dust over its head and body as soon as it returns to the land. In Mayapur, they have such an elephant. And my understanding, it's a female elephant. Her name is Gulab. And she has a big lake, and she goes and bathes in the lake, and then comes to the edge of the lake, and with her sand and with her trunk, she does what we see in the picture. She throws sand all over her nicely clean body. And they have, a fellow coming with a bucket and throwing water and helping the elephant take a bath. Useless. The process of atonement for having committed sins is very inadequate. So what's needed is transformation, not just bathing. Let's see what's going on here. So in this connection, Sukadeva Goswami speaks. This is leading up to the Ajamila story, where Ajamila doesn't just take a bath, but he gets completely corrected. So, Kechit, let's say the verse, we all know the verse. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha agham dunvanti karsnyeya niharam eva bhaskaraha. Only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the image is showing, the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. I remember very clearly, one Mayapur festival, this was the section of the Bhagavatam, and the sun rises always on the same side and sets on the other side. So commonly in Mayapur, in the early morning, there's this low-hanging fog. And sure enough, just as the sun, the rays of the sun indicates it's morning, but the sun hasn't surfaced above the surface of the earth yet. But when the direct rays of the sun come, poof, the fog is gone. And then the same thing the next day, and same thing the next day. It's because there's lots of moisture near the Ganges, so there's fog in the early morning. And then as soon as the sun rises, immediately this fog is dissipated by the direct rays of the sun. Similarly, the direct rays of bhakti have this power, this potency, to completely take away even tendency such that sinful actions cannot revive. At least the potency is within the name to do this. Now the very next verse, let's say the verse together. Nattata yaghavan rajan pujeta tappa adibihi yata krishnarpita pranas tatpurasha sevaya. Translation. My dear king, if a sinful person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord, in this case it was Narada Muni and Angira, and thus learn how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be completely purified, as an example of the previous verse. One cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, penance, brahmacharya, and other methods of atonement I have previously described. So, alone. Other activities beneficial, yes. Temporary, yes. And not with the same effect as the chanting of the holy name. So this is a special benediction. To this verse, Jiva Goswami writes the following. Bhakti, there's two divisions of two. Bhakti may be divided into two divisions. Santata, devotional service that continues incessantly with faith and love. And the second kind of devotional service, or division of devotional service, kada chitki, devotional service that does not continue incessantly, but is sometimes awakened. Now, this explanation, it goes on, but we're going to see a chart that makes it even more clear graphically. The first, incessantly flowing devotional service, santata, may also be divided into two categories. One, service, because that's our topic, is service, performed with slight attachment, and spontaneous devotional service, not just slight attachment, spontaneous. And now the other term is kada chitki. Intermittent devotional service may be divided into three. Raga bhasaimai, devotional service which is one is almost attached. Then it goes down from there. Raga bhasa shunya swarup bhuta, devotional service in which there is no spontaneous love, but one likes the constitutional position of serving. That's what we're going to be speaking about. I mean, one may go further, but that's what we're going to be speaking about, this section. And abhasa rupa, a slight glimpse or glimpse, shadow of devotional service, abhas rupa. So here's another way of just a chart looking at devotional service. So here's a nice pujari. He's doing the work of a pujari. And it may be with different states of consciousness. Continuous, may be spontaneous, or it may be with a slight attachment. And then kada, chitki, intermittent, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. Almost attached. No love yet, but one likes the constitutional position of serving. Some people are like that, isn't it? Some people just like opportunities to serve. Not so much attachment to the object, but they like the position of serving. And abhasrupa, slight glimpse of devotional service, meaning pure devotional service. So notice you're going to get these little red X's. We're not, primarily those of us assembled here are not eligible for these. We're eligible for these. And it starts with the shadow or glimpse, Abbas, Abbas Bhakti, Abbas Rupa, and it may lead to not with love yet, but just liking the position of service. Remember, we had some warning in the previous session about being so much absorbed in service we forget the emphasis that gave rise to that mood of service, which is chanting. We get so absorbed in service, we don't have time for chanting, or something like that. Just a little sharing. Before coming here for this Festival of the Holy Name, I was in Portland. And the temple president of the Portland temple is a physician. He's not just a physician, but he's the emergency kind of physician. He's an oncologist, and people that have cancer, he's got to be there and be really sharp. And sometimes in his schedule, he has to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Because it's like a schedule in rotation, different doctors do like that. So it was one of those days he was out of his home at 5:30 and at the hospital 6:15 or whatever it was. And a long day of being totally absorbed. And at the end of the day, he had rounds to chant. And I'm sure it's not easy, because that's what he's been doing for his adult life as a professional oncologist. And you have to be really sharp. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can't tell the patient, gee, I'm sorry, I slipped. It's not okay. So there's some professions that are like that. That's one. There's others. And so I observed he went down the hall and sat and peacefully chanted. And I just hoping he doesn't fall asleep, because I know I wouldn't fall asleep in a circumstance like that, from up at 5:30 in the morning and go, go, go. He's Iron Man. He's really good. But I guess he's now accustomed to it after so many years of that profession. So no love yet, but one likes the constitutional position of serving. The constitutional position means service to Krishna. That's our constitutional position. Service, other than to Krishna, is not exactly what our constitutional position is. You can waffle a little bit, but constitutional position means service to Krishna. That's the soul's makeup. And so one may like that without necessarily having some attachment or almost attached, and then attached, slight attachment, spontaneous. So two categories Jiva Goswami describing. Liking service is our next step. I hope you feel the same. The mood of service is the means to have a glimpse of attraction. Remember, the acceptance was the previous, and now it's moved from acceptance to attraction. And service is the means to come to that stage. We all know this Rupa Goswami's teachings, these 5 particularly powerful, potent forms of devotional service, residing in a sacred place like Naperville, or wherever else you're from. Looking around the room, there's a few places people are from. So if we can't live in such sacred places as Vrindavan, then in the mind, hankering, and upon occasion, visiting and feeling this is my real home. These 5 most important to devotional service are not forms of enjoyment. This is the dasya message. Nor forms of relief, nor forms of achievement. They're service, each. So our chanting is a category of service, where there's the object, and there's the subject, and there's the verb. The verb is service, and the object is Krishna, and the subject is us, or the heart. From the heart. Serve. Paying attention to Krishna in the form of his holy name, that's our, of these 5, it's a primary, if not the primary, yoga dharma. Primary seva. So, there's this discussion, Lochan Das Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur. I'm not going to go into this so much, but they have a difference in perspective of the same activity. One in union and the other in separation. And the hankering for the union and the lamentation and separation. So either emotion that in the mood of service makes the connection. That's the simple message here. And our great acharyas exhibited sometimes oscillating between the two. The main is with attachment to the holy name. The mode of service nurtured during our japa becomes the substratum consciousness for everything else that we might do. It's the same message as the morning session, that is, the foundation for which service may rise or does rise is the engagement with the chanting of the holy name, so don't get so lost in problem solving and being busy doing important service. Because it's important service, you get busy doing it. Become an oncologist and get so busy you don't have time for chanting. Wow, what a profession. Very demanding. And a wife that's not so well, and a daughter, and family, and the temple president, and I don't know how he juggles all those things. He has a gift from Krishna to be able to move fluidly from one thing to the next thing and remain firm and fixed and steady. But the chanting, the message here is the chanting of the holy name is the foundation for all other things that may arise in the form of expressions of service to Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Here's a nice photograph and a nice little interview with Umapati. And he was, he's one of the founding personalities in our Hare Krishna movement. Here's some message from Umapati, now as a sannyasi, or when this was spoken as a sannyasi. Of course, everybody was a brand new devotee. Nobody really knew much of anything. There was a lot of nonsense going on and fighting and things like that. So I became disturbed. And I went to see Prabhupada and to complain about some of the things that devotees were doing. Prabhupada said to me, if you don't like what they're doing, then you set the example. A little later I went again to see him to complain about devotees. And Srila Prabhupada said, what do you want from them? They're trying to serve Krishna. The third time, 1972, I was living in San Francisco. I wrote Prabhupada a letter, just complaining about so many things. And Prabhupada wrote back to me, I complained. People do bad things, and they're the example of this and that. Prabhupada said or wrote, who said they're an example? Anyway, what are you doing? All you're doing is making money and spending it on your own household or life. And he ended the letter, said, the whole movement has been for, because I had said, I don't understand this movement. Prabhupada said, you have been with me for so many years and you still don't understand? When will you understand? The whole movement has been for service. Now there's an honest admission from Umapati when he was a householder. You know, what sometimes happens in the household life, not just household life, brahmachari life too. Complaining and fault finding and pointing fingers. And so the emphasis Prabhupada was pointing to in response to Umapati, then Prabhu, but now sannyasi. The whole movement has been for service. The whole point of our movement is service. Now here's a little, I hope the sound system works. This is from the Following Srila Prabhupada DVD series. And this is an interview of a disciple of Dr. Mishra, who later took sannyas and accepted disciples, but we all know who Dr. Mishra was. Dr. Mishra had a place in Manhattan, and he gave that place in Manhattan for Prabhupada to stay. The thing is, it was an office. It had no running water, it had no toilet, it had no nothing, it was just an office. And Prabhupada stayed there for some time because he had nothing. And Prabhupada went, when he needed to use the toilet, he would go out the front door, down a couple of steps and up to Dr. Mishra's apartment and use his toilet. Pretty inconvenient. And then his cooking was done at Dr. Mishra's apartment. And, you know, Prabhupada's, the austerities that Prabhupada underwent in the beginning was amazing. So this is an interview with a young lady that later became Dr. Mishra's disciple, so she refers to him as Guruji, Dr. Mishra, because later he became initiated, but you know, Prabhupada had a strong impact on him and even on the followers of Dr. Mishra. So Dr. Mishra, in addition to his place in Manhattan, he had a little project in upstate New York. From New York City to upstate New York means like, you know, a rural area in the Catskills. You don't know geography of New York State, but many Vedanta, you know where the Catskills are. So that was where his place was. And this is an interview with the photographs, the video footages from there, in Prabhupada's relationship with Dr. Mishra, and the perspective of the two by one who became Dr. Mishra's disciple. Let's see if it works.
The ashram was open only on the weekends, so we would come out Friday night, driving Swamiji and Gurji and our son, and then on Sunday night come back. Early on, I was given the name of Mother of the Ashram. So if I were Mother of the Ashram, I was only in my 30s. Then he had to be the grandfather of the ashram. My memories of him were mostly of him smiling and laughing, because when he was with Sri Brahmananda, then Dr. Mishra, they carried on in Hindi, and they usually ended up in total laughter. Guruji, after the program of Vedantic readings and chanting, Guruji would turn over the latter part of the evening to Swamiji. And he would try to caution him. And he'd say, Swamiji, only 15 minutes remaining. At most 20 minutes, Swamiji. And Swamiji would look at him very sincerely and say, I know people need rest. It is late. I will do a little bit chanting. But it was to no avail, because once Swamiji went into that divine chanting, the bhakti chanting, he lost all sense of time and space every time he chanted. And it was seldom that it was less than an hour. And Guruji knew it. It was his joke with Swami Bhaktivedanta. He was serious only when he was chanting or talking about Krishna consciousness. But when he was relating to people, and certainly relating to Guruji, his face would light up. He had a radiance because he was happy. When Swamiji was happy, it showed. He, I guess because he did a lot of traveling on his own, had become self-sufficient in the kitchen. And he also loved, absolutely loved, to make meals for Guruji. And he would make a lot of food. So we knew when Swamiji was cooking that he could serve about 20 people, although he was cooking mainly for Guruji. And we would gather around as he was cooking. We wanted to learn from him what he was doing. So we would ask him questions, and he wouldn't answer because he'd be totally absorbed in his moment-to-moment activity. And although we were in a happy mood because we were anticipating a lovely meal and being with the two of them, he just remained serious until the last morsel was being finished. And he was just one-pointed in everything he did. I always felt about him he was a deeply serious man, serious about life. He never talked about his past, his personal life. I did ask him once or twice, question here and there, and he waved it away. He said, not important. That's not important. And then I began to feel it wasn't important. What was important was what he was doing now. It was only once when he touched me so much, I asked if I could hug him. He said something like, why not? Because nobody touched him usually. Guruji did. He would put his arm around him. But this was after I knew him for a while. But it was the Indian way of hugging. You know, somehow they managed to hug you and be miles apart in the hug. But at the same time, although the bodies were kept apart, it's only really the shoulders that come together. It's Indian style. But I felt Swamiji's love. He was a tender man, he was a caring man, and an innocent man. And in the company of innocency, you relax completely. And so I was always relaxed with Swami Bhaktivedanta.
So I'm going to go on because this goes on for another hour and a half. But it's just a glimpse. Now, on the same theme of the mood of service, here's a nice verse, which we're going to hear, hopefully, a good recording of one of our local mantra singers, Shatarupa.
नैवात्मना प्रभुरयं निजलाभपूर्णो मानं जनादविदुषा करुणो वृणीते यद्यज्जनो भगवते विदधीतमानम् तच्च तच्चात्मने प्रतिमुखस्य यथा मुखश्री नैवात्मना प्रभुरयं निजलाभपूर्णो मानं जनादविदुषा करुणो वृणीते यद्यज्जनो भगवते विदधीतमानम् तच्चात्मने प्रतिमुखस्य यथा मुखश्री.
Translation reads, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fully satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotee. For the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. So this is Prahlad describing service to the personality of Godhead, Lord Nrsingadev. And although it's just a reflection, like reflection of a mirror of one's face, it goes up to the personality of Godhead. He's the one who's being pleased, and one is by the decoration in the mirror, one's face is being decorated. Our offering of service has little value except the love invested in it. So another way of saying the same thing as found in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpalam Toyam. The offerings of something very simple is for the benefit of the one who's making the offering. Now here's another embedded, this is Srila Prabhupada speaking about chanting.
Jimam bhaktya prajach. The real thing is bhakti. What you can offer to Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. What you have got, what is your value? And what is the value of your things? There is nothing. Therefore, the real thing is bhaktya. Real thing is your feeling. Krishna, kindly take it. I have no qualification. I am most rotten fallen. But I have brought this thing for you. Please take. This will be accepted. Don't be puffed. Always be careful. You are dealing with Krishna. That is my request. Thank you.
On the theme of service, we're offering an object or ourself or the gesture. And similarly, there's an appeal that Krishna kindly accepts. So both are embedded in this little message. There's a nice reference where Cupid was sent to distract Narayana and Rishi from engaging in their austerities. Indra thought, I better get him distracted, so he sent Cupid. When the followers of the demigods gazed upon the fascinating, mystic beauty of the women created by Narayana Rishi and smelled the fragrance of their bodies, the minds of these followers became bewildered. Indeed, upon seeing the beauty and magnificence of such women, the representatives of the demigods were completely diminished in their own opulence. What to speak of Cupid? So, similarly, if the heavenly maximum attractions and allures are unattractive to the personality of Godhead, what can we offer to Krishna? We're going to flatter him and by flattering him, he'll pat us on the head and something that we want will be ours. That's not how it works. So now this is reference again to the mind, because this is part of the dasya mood, is directing the mind in the mood of service. But mostly our mind is not directed in the mood of service. Our minds are difficult to deal with. The mind is like another entity, constantly chattering, demanding attention, and an unrelenting companion. There's a joke that's going to come up here in just a moment. The mind will insist on domination even after agreeing to cooperate. Some say it's like being married. I wouldn't know. But I do have a mind, and I can understand something about marriage. During chanting, too often, the mind gets fixed on problem solving, common. And then the mind becomes obsessed with problem solving instead of what'll be dissolve the problem and dissolve the mind, even for that matter. It may force us to check that one text message. It's like an itch, and you resist scratching the itch, but then you got to scratch the itch because it itches. So the distractions. In our modern time, when somebody gets restless, you can tell when they're getting restless. I mean, I can say this as a public speaker. You know you're losing some persons in the audience when they're doing, what they're doing. They're doing the text messaging thing. But, it's just an uncontrolled mind, and something calling the mind to do something, so you go do that something. We can't get a refund on the mind. I want my money back. Got a bad deal here. Sorry. You got a mind, it's yours. Here's another funny one. There's this text. The author is not known, but it's a wisdom person or wisdom persons, wise sayings, subhashita. The mind is like a monkey. The mind is like a drunken monkey. The mind is like a drunken monkey stung by a scorpion. The mind is like a drunken monkey stung by a scorpion and possessed by a ghost. Try to pacify that guy, huh? There's the scorpion. So it's not a place of shelter. It's not who we are, and it's not a place of shelter either. Can we find shelter in the mind? We cannot move any other person to line up with our we hate or disagree with to distant lands. We cannot protect ourselves from separation from people we love. And even if we could do all these things, the mind, by its very nature, would still not be satisfied. It's not a good proposal. It's not a good method of living. As a priority, somehow my mind has to be satisfied. It's one of those things, it's easy to get stuck in, that space, that I'm not satisfied space. Here's a nice painting. You've seen this painting before. This is Jad Bharat on the right and King Rahugana on the left. And King Rahugana thought, there's this dullard, let's make a human sacrifice of this dullard. So in that section of the Bhagavatam, the soul's designation, the mind, is the cause of all tribulations in the material world. As long as this fact is unknown to the conditioned living entity, he has to accept the miserable conditions of the material body and wander within this universe in different positions, because the mind is affected by disease, lamentation, illusion, attachment, greed, and enmity. It creates bondage and a false sense of intimacy within this material world. An uncontrolled mind is a big problem. The uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity, the soul. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and will become victorious. Although it is not factually, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O King, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. So this is a nice lesson, Jad Bharat instructing the king, King Rahugana. You can look up the reference if you like, Canto 5, Chapter 11. And there's Jad Bharat, because they were harassing him. The goddess Kali came bursting out of a place where they thought they were going to take care of Jad Bharat and make a human sacrifice. Instead, she was so angry because he's a great devotee, so she protected him and chopped their heads as they were planning to chop his, make a human sacrifice. Solution: bring the mind to Krishna in a mood of service. Reality then becomes clearer. I mean, it's a very simple principle. Supposing you have a problem. You ever have a problem? Or 10 of them? And then the tendency is the mind gets absorbed in the problem. And because of that, inattention to the solution to the problem, which is Krishna, becomes like impossible to be attentive while you're problem solving. They don't go well together. And alternatively, if you just have, I call it a parking lot, you put your mind over in the park, my dear friend, just like the discussion in the morning, you put your mind in a box and tell your mind, I'll come back, don't worry. For right now, just stay in the box. So, neglect the mind. And sometimes it takes a little stronger than just neglect. It's beat the mind. So anyway, we'll hear that one as we go forward. And by that position of the mind being toned down or dialed down in its volume, and then you can be attentive to chanting. As you can become attentive to chanting, purification will come. Intelligence will come from purification, and you'll have a much better understanding of how to deal with situation X, Y, Z. Whatever the problem is, or the 10 problems, or whatever it is. It's very simple. Sacredness fills one's life, internally and externally. So it's worth the effort, isn't it? So here's a nice reference. This is from 10th Canto Bhagavatam, Chapter 87, Prayers by the Personified Vedas. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes this comment. He makes this comparison. The mind is like a lake. And when the devotee sincerely tries to hear his holy name, that's the devotee making an effort to hear, Vishwanath writes in his commentary, in that lake of the mind, because the mind is like a lake, that when it becomes calm, and then from within the lake, it's very similar to what we heard Bhaktivinoda Thakur describe, by hearing with the ear, hearing the sound, and then it goes to the heart. And then the and there's movement from the heart to the mind. So when the movement from the heart to the mind, or the lake of the mind, Krishna makes waves, indicating his presence. Very similar. The authors are different, but it's a very similar message. And then, as one continues to hear, while Krishna is making waves in the lake of the mind, then one may have realization of Krishna in different ways. But realization of Krishna in different ways isn't going to happen without the effort to hear. So it starts with this thing on the side of the head. And then it's not just the flesh on the side of the head, it's the spiritual ear. We'll hear about that again tomorrow. It's one of my favorite passages for every japa retreat. Tomorrow morning, Bhaktisiddhanta describing. The ear conquers the mind. It's the ear that hears, and then the name goes into the heart, and then Krishna in various features agitates or makes waves in the lake of the mind. Krishna appears in such a attentive hearer's process. So here's Dasya Bhav from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the sentiment of service. And the sentiment of service is being discussed in this section, where Lord Chaitanya worshipped Advaita Acharya as guru. He is elder, and he, Advaita Acharya, was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, as was Advaita Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master, disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So he saw Advaita Acharya as being like a godbrother of his guru. So he looked up. He worshipped Advaita Acharya as guru. And Advaita Acharya wasn't wanting that. He saw himself, Advaita Acharya considered himself as the servant or the dasa of Lord Chaitanya. So, the little competition of transcendental competition. Advaita forgets himself in the joy of that mood, Krishna Dasa Abhiman. This mood is an ocean of happiness. Even Lakshmi prays for Dasya Sukha. Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Shukadev, Sanatana, Kumar are very pleased in the sentiment of servitude. There's no higher bliss. The painting, you may know, it's the Avaduta Nityananda was displeased, he's feigning displeasure with Advaita Acharya. You only brought a small morsel, and he took a handful of rice and threw it on the ground, like disgust. And then some morsels of that rice that fell on the ground bounced and hit Advaita Acharya in the leg, and he started dancing, receiving on his leg some rice from Nityananda's hand. Nice pastime. Here is the further description. All relationships with Krishna are imbued with dasya bhav, whatever up and down and sideways. Superiors, equals, and inferiors. Who can claim they are not his servant? Lord Krishna, the one master and the Lord of the universe, is worthy of being served by everyone. Indeed, everyone is but a servant of his servants. And that's the mood, the dasya bhav mood, being the servant of the servant. So here comes another verse that has some nice recitation. I hope the sound system works. This is a verse taken from King Kulashekhar's Mukundamala Stotra. And it's very nice. And the recording is hopefully audible.
नाहं वन्दे तव चरणयोर्द्वन्द्वमद्वन्द्वहेतो कुम्भीपाकं गुरुमपि हरे नारकं नापनेतुम् रम्या रामा मृदुतनुलता नन्दनेनापि रन्तुम् भावे भावे हृदय भवने भावयेयं भवन्तम्.
My Lord, I do not worship you to be liberated from this material entanglement, nor do I wish to save myself from the hellish condition of material existence, nor do I ever pray for a beautiful wife to enjoy in a nice garden. I wish only that I may always be in full ecstasy with the pleasure of serving your Lordship.
Now, the emphasis or reference here is the mood of service. And often Prabhupada will refer to this, the first series, that he, Kulashekar, is not explicitly, he's not seeking liberation. Thank you. You may offer it to me, but no thank you. I just want the pleasure of serving your Lordship in the association of devotees. Now, are you ready? I think we're ready. This is the exercise slide, so here we go. Wasn't it one this morning nice? You ready for another one? A little louder. Okay. Words of encouragement.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, as you see on the slide, this session of our experience, somebody's phone is on? Sorry. So, we are trying to now get into the mood of service, how to be in this mood of service while doing our japa or kirtan. So this session is going to be slightly different than what we did in the morning. Many times when we sit down to do our japa, we go with this attitude that, okay, today I'm not going to listen to my mind. I have things to focus on, meditate upon. And what we don't realize is slowly we get into this doership mentality that I can do something to control my mind. But actually, from what we've been hearing from Maharaj, what Krishna actually, when we do kirtan and when we do japa, Krishna likes to hear kirtans. Krishna likes to hear japa. So, what the mood that we need to cultivate is that when we are chanting and we are doing kirtan, we are actually trying to please Krishna. And when we are focused on that instead of, I need to control my mind, automatically we move into service mode, because here, when we are focused on pleasing the Lord, because that gives Him pleasure, automatically there is a service mode. But the moment we think that, I need to control my mind and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and guess what? After a few beats, the mind takes over. The monkey mind is very busy. So, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we can direct our mind towards Krishna. So in this session, while you're all chanting, I'll be offering some prompts. And some of the prompts are actually from Maharaj's previous lectures, and some are from the book Crying for Krishna. How many of you have read or used that as your job? Yeah, it's an amazing book. And the mood that we will be in while doing this session is in this mood of chanting to request Krishna that to please allow us to approach Him so we can serve Him. So there is this mood of helplessness. Literally, We think we are very capable. Actually, we are not capable of anything. Bhakti life is all, it's the descending process. It's all the descending mercy. So actually, it sounds very simple, but it's very hard for the material mind to take attention in that way. So in this session, as I'm reading these prompts, I would say, don't think that this is somebody else's realizations. Take your attention to the, oh wow, somebody had this experience while they were chanting, and I'm so grateful that this devotee has shared their experiences and their realizations. And hopefully let these realizations be mine, or these experiences be mine. And when we tap into these meditations that way, even though it's not ours, it becomes ours. Krishna opens a door that we never knew would open. So I'm hoping that through this session, we'll request Krishna to open the door so we can approach him and to beg him to allow us to serve him with whatever broken hearts we have. A heart that is totally, like, has got millions of knots, and they're all so entangled that it's almost impossible to detangle. Only Krishna is the solution, only His holy name is the solution. So I would say, please, everybody's bead bags are, because last session I didn't mention about keep your bead bags ready, and then when I started the session, some people were like trying to find where their bead bag is. So in this session, what we are going to do is take a minute, visualize our Ishta Devata, each one of us as a certain form of the Lord that is very dear to our heart, that our heart connects to, that we feel most reciprocation coming from. Take a minute to visualize that image. Right now the curtains are closed, otherwise I would have told, Radha Shyam Sundar, or, your Giriraj, or Gaur Nitai, even just Nam Prabhu, however you connect with that form of the Lord. And then invite that Lord in your heart, that form in your heart. And try to feel the presence of the Lord in your heart. He is there. With the difficulties, we can't see Him, we can't feel Him. So let's beg the Lord to reveal Himself to us, even though we feel very unqualified. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama. My dear Krishna, please come into my heart. My dear Krishna, you are present on my tongue. Now please come into my heart. O Krishna, please help me remember that within attention are the seeds of love. O clever Krishna, help me bridge the abyss between my practice and realization, balancing on the thread of the holy name. O effulgent Krishna, please give me how to take. O effulgent Krishna, please guide me how to take shelter of the substance and stay away from shadow. O persuasive Krishna, help me understand if I listen to my mind, I will get a material result. But if I listen to you, I will get a spiritual result. O affectionate Krishna, help me feel at home with strong emotions and teach me how to direct them to the lotus feet. O merciful Krishna, please teach me how to be a beggar of the holy name. O benevolent Krishna, I go to Vaishnava assemblies for the treasure of love for God, like a starving beggar goes to householders for food. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. O my Lord, I am a beggar on the outskirts of the marketplace of the holy name. O best of the teachers, please teach me how to serve you. Oh, my dear Nama Prabhu, thank you for being with me every day and not abandoning me. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Radhika, what's our cutoff time?
4 o'clock.
Okay, we have 10 minutes. Any thoughts anybody here would like to share, or comments, questions? Looks like the sky is clearing. Maybe we'll have Harinam after all. I'm going to call on somebody else. Maybe I won't call on somebody else. Go ahead. Raise your hand. Nandimukhi.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you. I think just one reflection on the service mood. I feel like it has a very deep connection with acceptance that we talked about in the morning. Because if we feel that we are not accepted, or we cannot accept others, then it's perhaps very difficult for us to serve consistently and serve well, like the experience that Romapada Maharaj shared. And on the other hand, if we do be ready to accept others and to accept the circumstances, then we can very quickly move from trying to defend ourselves or to fix others to really hear and attend the object of service. And I think especially for those who make us feel that we are accepted, service mood to them it's a natural outcome and a very spontaneous reciprocation. And I think one magic about this service mood is that it could turn the ordinary or mechanical routines into memorable experiences, like that interview the lady was sharing, how Srila Prabhupada was single-mindedly focused in his chanting, in his cooking, in his eating. And yeah, and I think it's like people may forget the exact details that you do, but they will not forget that service attitude, how you make them feel.
Nice.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you.
Maharaj, we have extra time if you would like to have more questions.
Let's see how it goes. It's a trick microphone. It's got a hidden button.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, I would like to ask a question about one of the slide talked about the mind is like a lake.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand that analogy because we hear we need to slow down our mind, keep the mind calm in order to focus and hear the holy name. But in this analogy, it says that as long as we sincerely try to hear the holy name,
Yeah.
Krishna will make waves.
But that's okay.
And I'm trying to understand the analogy of waves in the mind by Krishna while we are chanting.
So, what's the answer to this question is the connection between the heart or the seat of consciousness and the mind. The heart or the seat of consciousness and the mind. When the mind, as you described, the mind is tranquil, peaceful, contemplative, Krishna is active and makes waves. Means like if you're by a lake that's very calm, there may be some movement of fish or something below the surface of the water, and you can see that movement on the surface of the water. The fish, the tail of the fish is moving this way, that way, and so Krishna appears in the lake of the mind when it's very calm. Put the microphone away. When the mind is, well, you can ask again. When there's a contemplative mood, and when there's striving to hear, not striving to calm the mind, but striving to hear, then the mind becomes calm. One thing, the mind becomes conquered. This is Rupa Goswami. And no, in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentaries, this is his metaphor. So when the mind is in this reflective upon the holy name mood because you're trying to hear, is having an impact of, according to Rupa Goswami, the mind becomes stunned. The senses become inert. That's the calm lake. But Krishna is active. So when the mind becomes like that, the activities of Krishna, the form of Krishna, Krishna may appear within the mind. That creates waves in the lake. But it's the welcome kind, not the unwelcome kind. That's the metaphor. Go ahead.
So if my understanding is correct,
I don't know.
we can feel the presence or Krishna appearance or reciprocation. That's what the movement or the action or the waves.
That's what it is.
Okay.
No, there's a supposing the opposite. Supposing the mind is restless, then that motion of Krishna in the mind isn't going to appear because the mind is restless, moving here, moving there, the agitated lake. So, and how does that calm lake become possible? By hearing and striving to hear. Way in the back.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I saw somebody's hand over there and I heard your voice over here. Okay.
And if this was addressed in a previous class, I'm not caught up on hearing from this retreat.
You're
but
busy, I can tell.
Could you describe a little bit about the relationship of in chanting, entering chanting in a mood of service and also in a mood of receiving? Since at least superficially, service mood doesn't have that kind of expectation of receiving.
During the afternoon session, I asked somebody who's really good at graphics to take this, take this slide of the lake. Gosh, bozo. To take this slide and remove the text. Because what I wanted to do is emphasize, supposing you're that fellow on the left, I'm trying to be responsive to your question, that you're on that fellow on the left and you're making an effort to hear. And you don't experience the lake of the mind manifesting the presence of Krishna in the calm lake of the mind. Supposing that doesn't happen. For most of us it doesn't happen, because for different reasons. Then patiently, so that when they took the here comes Radha Shyamasundara ki jai. Are you sure that we can continue speaking? Because it looks like there's something that's going to happen on the altar. You're sure? Okay. Let's see if you're right. So, Yasodhanandana, supposing Krishna doesn't make his appearance in the lake that's become very calm because of the effort of hearing, and the mind has become conquered, but Krishna doesn't appear in the mind or make waves in the mind or make his appearance perceived by remembrance or whatever, his form, his qualities, pastimes, etc. Supposing that doesn't happen. So I asked someone to remove all of that. And then what, supposing you're striving like that and nothing happens. And you had an expectation, something may happen, I want something to happen, I want Krishna to appear, and Krishna doesn't appear. So then what? So then the text disappears, there's the fellow is still sitting there, we, that's us, making an effort to hear, and we continue to make the effort to hear with the purpose that Krishna's senses are to be pleased, not my senses are to be pleased. By the act of striving to hear, that's the outcome, that's the bhakti outcome or the love outcome, where that predominates over everything. And the loving sentiment is, Krishna can do with me whatever he likes. He can appear or not appear, he can neglect me, he can do whatever he wants. So that's love. And comparison can be made to young boy, young girl. That's what we're going to be hearing, I think it's tomorrow, on this point. So the channel becomes, that this is alignment message and acceptance message, and the service continues because I've accepted that position, the dasya rasa position. Krishna is to be pleased. That's it. Not conditional. I'll continue provided Krishna does this and does that. So it's not a business deal. It's service that Krishna should be pleased. And then he can do what he likes. He can do with me whatever he likes. And my position doesn't change because that's my position. So I'm not sure I'm being responsive to your question.
I think that was helpful in that the chanting in the mood of service, connecting that with the statement Himangi Mataji made about chanting to Krishna likes chanting, he likes kirtan, and so doing it in that mood, and then in the receiving, it's how I was connecting it is receiving the love that's already there, and it's more just, am I attuned to it?
The lover is ready for whatever the beloved wants. And, making a contrast, marriage isn't always like that. But in a loving relationship, it's the happiness of the beloved. That's it. That's it. In pure love, that's it. And then it is whatever it is, because that's what the beloved wants. And the beloved can change and have another mood, and that's also just fine, because that's what the beloved wants. And that's our position. That's pure love. That's prema bhakti. And then he can do what he wants. And he does what he wants. But what he wants is our happiness, and so he creates our happiness in a way that may look like it's not happiness, but it's happiness. There's all of those, that separation look like not happiness. And then again meeting. So, and varieties in between. The language that you're using may not be the language that I'm using, but I think you understand that I'm trying to at least be responsive to. The receiving is what he wants, whatever that is. And it may change, and that's fine too. Okay?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yeah, there we go.
So, the session that I did where Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying you can direct the mind towards Krishna,
Yes.
and then I just did one piece where he's saying, focus on your deities.
Yes.
The challenge I find in japa when some of these meditations that I was reading, when I do, Krishna certainly churns the heart. And when you're receptive, the heart is churning and moving, but then that becomes a distraction while chanting. So how to help, or how I can stop that from happening, because then that becomes a distraction and then I'm not paying attention to the mantra.
I'm pausing because my experience was as you're describing. This is my feedback to that little exercise, and the meditation, directing the mind. The initial one, inviting your worshipable Ishtadev into your heart. And that was lovely. and, and warm and, invigorating. And then following that, as you said, that was my experience. It didn't, the meditation, directing the mind towards that meditation was a distraction from the chanting, was my experience. Huh? What you said was what I experienced. And so there may need to be some modification going into the future, because there's going to be a number of japa retreats taking this model, and that little piece may need some modification. Huh? Yeah. So we're in the same boat. So I'm sure there's ways that the principle that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was bringing up can be achieved. The directing the mind when the mind starts to do something other than be absorbed in the name. So redirect the mind. Okay, we'll figure something out. Who has the microphone? Aha.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I actually had two questions, if that is okay.
You can have one.
Okay. Only one? Okay.
Take your pick.
Okay. So,
No, she's in the spot, so you got to pick one.
I mean, my first question was similar to Hemangi Mataji's question. Like, I had it noted down. Like, if we get spiritual thoughts during chanting, do we let it stay or pull it back to hearings? I guess you answered that. So,
Okay, next one.
yeah. This question was from today morning's
Okay.
class. So, you mentioned in one of the slides, I think you talked about Sampatti Dasha, where like a devotee is very much advanced in bhakti, that they know who they are, they know their true form. And I was just wondering, what do these devotees think about themselves? Like, what is their
You have
opinion?
to ask them. I don't know.
Like how in the morning we did an exercise, right? Hemangi Mataji, like she gave us an exercise. Think about the ways in which you're like disqualified, how you're disqualified.
That's
And
easy.
yes. So I was wondering, even at an advanced stage, do devotees who have prema, do they still feel disqualified, or are they satisfied
course.
with themselves?
Of course. Humility doesn't go to sleep. It becomes more acute. Okay? No, that's an apparent contradiction, but get used to it. In higher stages of consciousness, there are lots of, from our little binary mind perspective, it doesn't fit. If it's this, it's not that. If it's that, it's not this. But, in stages of higher consciousness, the contradictions dissolve. It's a higher consciousness description. And humility, feeling oneself not qualified to the max, is a symptom of qualification. Then it's not, it's not cosmetic. Okay? Well, there's hands. Okay, 1, 2, and then that's it. Because of time.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for very nice messages, and Hemangi Mataji also for guided meditations. So my question is on the morning when we did the guided thing. So when we locked the mind and everything, initially for few mantras it was focused.
Stay locked.
Yeah, and then Actually, I didn't. I just slept. So I tried to go to the route of prayers and taking with those things. I went to Krishna like, Nama Prabhu, Krishna, please help. This is my pathetic situation, or I'm
Yeah.
getting distracted. So kindly
Got it.
help me
Got it.
focus. So any suggestions, or this should be done, or anything else?
Practice along with, prayer. And you practice. That's the guided meditation. The redirecting the mind to where it belongs by practice.
Thank you.
Go ahead. You have the last one.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So sometimes we have a situation, so sometimes there is a need for one service, so you may be asked to do this, but your heart may be wanting to do some other type of offering as a service. And I feel like that's your relationship with Krishna, right? But at the same time, there is a need for this service. So is that like a lack of surrender?
No, it's personal. And accomplished devotees do different things. They say a polite no, or they do both. There's options depending upon the circumstance. And sometimes this and sometimes that. And the meditation, ideal meditation is Krishna should smile. Whichever this, that, or the other options that are before me, Krishna should be pleased. And that's the important meditation behind whatever the decision is, or mix. And I was giving this example of the oncologist who had, since 5:30 in the morning was busy, and then at night he still had rounds, and I asked him, did you finish? So he went and sat down, and it was late, rather late, with another busy day following that day, and he finished his rounds. So busy people have ways that they can accomplish what's needed. Some people don't have that same capacity, so they have to then select from the menu. And then, at different days, there may be different selections from the lengthy menu, your options. Okay. Krishna should be pleased. That's the main meditation objective. Okay, you ready?
So in an effort to take the experience that we're having here together out to those who are not so fortunate to be in this temple room, we're going to be going on Harinam to downtown Naperville. The location has been dropped in the WhatsApp group if you are new to Naperville. So we want to assemble out in the parking lot at 4:30. So we have about 15 minutes to go to the bathroom, get our belongings together, and we want to carpool because it's Friday before 4th of July. It's going to be packed out there, very tough to find parking. So please try to carpool with others. And then we're going to be there from 5 to 6:30. And then prasadam is going to be served here in the temple from 7 to 8 p.m. So, of course, we wish for everybody to join, but if you can't, for whatever reason, of course, you can be here and take this time to reflect and integrate, and we will see you during dinner. And I'm going to make some announcements for tomorrow, given it's Maunavrata. So in an effort to really go inside and reduce the chatter internally and externally, we are encouraged to be silent, yeah? And that includes no texting, because texting is talking as well. So 5 o'clock, Mangalarati, 7:10 Guru Puja Didi greeting, 7:30 Maharaj's short class, and Maunavrata or silence all the way until 5 o'clock when we get together for sharing realizations. Hare Krishna. If you have children, you have other needs, please talk and do what is needed. Yes, thank you, Maharaj.